Hey everyone, Luke here. Now I know it's been a while since I've done another review, but that's because I've got a reason for it. Last week, as you know, I was doing a short film and that took up a lot of my time, and also work commitments. Like, we're in the Christmas period and I'm working retail, so that's taken up a lot of my time. So I've kind of had to put the review on hold until today, where I can actually do the review. And I know that there's another chapter out, so we've got chapters 113 and 114. So what I've decided to do is just do a back-to-back double review. I hope this is compensating for missing out last week. I really regretted missing out last week. I wanted to do it, but work just got in the way, other things just got in the way, and I was just exhausted. It's like I had no time to do it pretty much. I couldn't do it yesterday as well because I went to visit family because it was my grandmother's birthday. It's my grandmother's birthday today, but I went to visit her yesterday because I had to do other things today. Obviously, the review I've got to do today, and also I've been doing Christmas shopping. I've had to get that out of the way as well. But anyway, guys, hope that's all cleared up and we can get into the review. Alright everyone, Lash Luke here, and today we're going to review the Promised Neverland chapters 113 and 114. This is probably going to take a really long time, so you might want to get a snack or something. I probably might split them up, I'm not sure yet, but I'm still debating whether or not I should have them both back to back or just have two separate videos. I will probably just have them back to back, so yeah, you might want to get a snack or something because we're going to be here for quite a while. But anyway, before we actually get into the reviews, I want to talk about a video that I saw on Controlled Chaos's channel. If you know, they're the guys that are not necessarily as big a fans of the series as they used to be. Like I am. I'm still a big fan of the series and I've loved every moment of it, except for a few little things. And they did a sort of like collab with another channel. I can't remember the name of the actual channel, but it's basically them debating whether or not the Promised Neverland has gone bad or not, and there was valid points from each side, and I really appreciate that that the fact that it wasn't just blatant attacks throughout on Control Chaos's end. They actually did raise valid points, and on the other end as well, like they made a valid point about One Piece, how it's just been just constantly about Luffy a lot of the times, especially in the whole Cake Island arc, where it was supposed to be Sanji's arc, and it kind of and Sanji just kind of fizzled out. And I'm really glad they brought up that point as well. And also they brought up a point about Akainu and how they compared him to Andrew, which I did in my review. And again, Akainu, I think of him as just a stereotypical villain, but they had valid points, counter arguments to what I said, and I welcome that. I welcome second opinions as well, and I'm really glad that the video wasn't just oh, you're right, you're wrong. They kind of came to a mutual agreement on certain aspects. So if you really want a different perspective and you want a idea of what other people think about the series, I recommend that you go and check out that video. It's on Control Chaos's channel. You can easily find it on YouTube. If you just type in "As the Promised Neverland Gotten Bad," yeah, I'm sure you'll be able to find it. But anyway, getting into the review itself, we're going to start off with chapter 113, titled "The King of Paradise," and I love that. That's one of my favourite titles for a chapter ever. It's obviously referring to William Minerva and how he's sort of leading the resistance, and it is confirmed in this chapter that the guy at the end of the last chapter was William Minerva, and one of the guys that was with him was one of his followers. So yeah, right, let's get right into it. Alright, first things first, talk about the cover of Shonen Jump this week. It shows Emma in sort of a winter warmer and just giving off a happy cheer, which is appropriate in a sense for Emma's character, how she's still a child at heart, so it doesn't mean that she can't enjoy winter. And I love that Shonen Jump actually chose Emma to represent the winter season that's actually coming, and I'm hoping it just goes by smoothly and we don't have a lot of interruptions. But anyway, we start off with the chapter with a colour page, a colour spread, which reads, which talks about the final arc. How this is pretty much the beginning, the stepping stones for the final arc. I mean, the chapters with Andrew, they were kind of like a bridge between the previous arc and the beginning of the final arc. Like the beginning of the final arc, officially, according to the chapter, starts in chapter 1113. So yeah, we're still at the beginning of the arc, so we still have quite a long way to go. We don't know when the series is coming to an end. It, like we said, for all we know, it could be 4 years, like it did with Bleach, even though Bleach's final arc was the 1,000-Year Blood War arc. It still took them a really long time to get through that. It took like 4 years. It took like nearly 200 chapters. Like, actually, it was over 200 chapters that I actually took, because I believe that, yeah, it was actually 206 chapters that it took for that arc to end. So if it goes like it's gone now, with it starting at chapter, with it like sort of semi-starting at chapter 100, the arc, and it goes on for as long as Bleach's last arc did, we could be here until chapter 300 or 305, something like that, which, if that's the case, then that gives a lot of time for character development to come through, and that's something that Control Chaos has been like critical about it. Like, we've had the background characters, where they've been like, they've been sort of like background characters, but the guess that they add on is like, yes, they may have been background characters, but when they're brought to the forefront, we get a lot with them. In the case of like with Dawn and Gilda, like, even though they started off as background characters, when they were brought into the fold, we got a lot about them. We got a lot of characterization for them. Like with Dawn in particular, like when he was brought into the forefront and being part of that group that actually knew, he was at, we got a lot of his character, like how he's very loyal, but he also doesn't want to be left out, and it was shown beautifully when he actually confronted Emma, Ray and Norman and actually demanded to know what was going on, and he was like, aren't we supposed to be family? Aren't we supposed to trust each other? He felt like that trust had actually been broken. It actually broke him in a sense. And it was the same thing with Gilda, how their trust between Emma, Ray and Norman was kind of like challenged at that moment. So yeah, we got quite a bit of what they're actually about. Like, they want to be trusted and want to think like, no, we're just as involved as you guys, so you should use us. You should actually have us be brought into the forefront. And I really love that about them. Like, and like the guest said on the Control Chaos video, like, even though they were background characters, when they're brought in, we get a lot from them, and that's what I commend the author for. Like, even though we may not know a lot about those characters, when they're brought into the forefront, we know about them. It's really good. And even though we don't know a lot about them, the fact that we had the time skip and we had 2 years to actually for Emma Ray and the others to actually establish a relationship between them. We don't know a lot about them, but we know that Emma and Ray know a lot about them, so it's kind of like more emotional for them, but it's not as emotional for us. And I feel like that's a critique that I can agree with. Like, even though it's emotional for the characters in the series, it's not emotional for us if it's not someone that we focused on a lot. But anyway, getting into the actual cover page itself, I really love it, how it's like we get different perspectives on it, how we have various characters. We have particularly Emma, Ray, it's Dawn, Gilda, and all of them actually looking very stoic, very serious. But we also get Norman looking very much like on a more cheery side, and then we get Connie and Phil, who are more like naivety, and it shows like the different dynamics that have gone on between the various characters. How you can have one group of characters that are very naive, but then you can have also a group of characters that are around the same age but are more like stern and mature and more focused on the greater aspect of the world. And then we can have a character like Norman in this cover page, who we can't really quite figure out what he's all about. But anyway, getting into the actual chapter itself, we see the Catcher Retreats October 2047, which I believe is sort of around the time when Emma is in Goldie Pond. I could be wrong, I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure it's around that time. Around that time. No, it wasn't in Goldie Pond. It was sort of like around the time when Emma and her group were on the trail, like going out to find various locations to scour around the Demon World for the Seven Worlds. And that's another thing that Control Chaos brought up. It's like, what was the point of the time skip? And I feel like if we had gotten, I am in agreement with the guest. Like, if we didn't have the time skip and we just had the groups walking around and they didn't find much, then we would still be complaining like, what was the point of that? It was boring. It got really, really boring. So yeah, and even Control Chaos kind of had to agree in the end that it's a very limited series that the author has set up here. But personally, what I believe is like what he's done with his limitations have been absolutely amazing. It's better than what I could come up with, because I probably would have run out of ideas ages ago and probably just been pulling things out of my arse. And I feel like the author hasn't had everything planned out, but I feel like he's sort of like had an idea of things, of where they're going to go, and he's actually put them down. He's actually made notes to put them down, like, okay, this is what's going to happen in as we go along from now on. It's sort of like how most authors do it, like with me, like with the book I'm writing. It's like I didn't have exactly every single idea planned out all the way from start to finish, but ideas kept coming to me, and I thought like, okay, I'm going to put this down and save it for later. It's sort of like what's doing here. Like the author really at a certain point didn't have an idea of where to go after Goldie Pond, so I feel like he had a little bit of an idea, and those chapters after Goldie Pond weren't as engaging as we wanted them to be. But I feel like the author was using this time there to like think of stuff to happen later on. Like I'm pretty sure like with those chapters that I was going through from when they were in the forest to when they met Songju, I feel like, okay, he sat down, he had those chapters, so like, okay, I can sit down and actually structure the story more for if we say get past chapter 100 and see where we can go from here, as long as it's not a majorly long series. And personally, like I said, I'm happy that it's not going to be a majorly long series. Like, I would be very happy if it was my original idea, like it stopped around chapter 300, 350 at most. That's what I'm aiming for, and I feel like if it stopped right there, I would be perfectly happy with that. But anyway, getting back to the chapter itself, we see the caption saying, on a certain day at a certain demon's nest. So, oh my god, a demon's nest is under attack. This is something that I've wanted to happen for a really long time. Like humans actually fighting back against the demons, and we see we see a report going on. Intruders, all plantation personnel, come on, respond. Who are these people? And then we get one person just singing a song going, Mr. Matorio, Mr. Matorio, and her saying, and yes, it is a her because of the way the hair structured. It's definitely a girl in this situation. Kiwi dumplings go on rice crackers, and she's doing that humming tune, and that's what I've loved about it. It's like we've got a clear personality here just from this panel as well. Like it in terms of like the characterization of the kids, it's sort of like the author's been taking their time with it, but with these characters it's like, no, they're adults, we could just like really jump into it. And that's what I love about the series, how we can have different styles of contrast between personalities as well. Like I've just said, the kids' personalities that is going to grow as the series goes on, but with the adults' personalities, they've already had their personalities established because they're grown up, they're mature, so we can just like dive into it, like what this character's about, and this is pretty much the chapter that's going to follow this. Like we're going to get different personalities, and we're going to get them just from these two panels, and from various panels, and the fact that the author is able to do that's really impressive in my opinion. Anyway, the people continue to go on and say, the hell is a Kibili dumpling? Who cares? And what is that song anyway? Well, it's a song you sing when exterminating demons. And oh, this is so cool. And then we jump down and we see like the four people that are there, which are part of Minerva's group. I'm just going to say it out, they're part of Minerva's group. And it seems like we've got the one girl who has a star on her shirt, and she looks very similar to, she has a very similar style of clothing to Jillian, and she's holding, let me see, a club, and is that oh my god, she's holding part of a demon as well, showing, oh my god, that's what I'm talking about. Like, this girl has no fear of these. In fact, she pretty much sees it in a way that the demons do with the humans, and it shows like that moral grey area, which is something that's really going to get into with this chapter, like the grey areas between humans and demons, how maybe they're not so different after all. And this girl here, this woman here, we don't know the names of the people in the shop. Well, we know the name of one of them, but we don't know the names of all of them. But it shows just from this panel here, her personality of how she's kind of sadistic and she's fighting back against demons, but in the sense that she's actually becoming pretty much worse than the demons, especially when she's holding up a piece of the demon, like sort of like a trophy, in the sense like the demons get the human bodies as food, as like it's their trophy, and this girl's holding up a piece of demon like it's a trophy for her, that she's exterminated these demons and she's holding up a trophy. And we get someone as well behind her who's like in dungarees and holding a mace, and he sort of like reminds me of not Saka. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is Saka. Yeah, no, Sandy. Like, he pretty much reminds me of Sandy in that regard, just the way he's actually structured. Which leads me to I've had theories about these characters, how they're gonna be related in a sense somewhere to some of the other characters, because we've had Isabella and Ray who were related, and I guarantee that there's still more relations out there that we don't know about, but we've actually seen. Like, Emma could be a relation to one of the characters that we've already seen in the series, in the same way that the other characters are. And particularly one really stands out for me, and it's the black guy with like the waistcoat and the glasses, and it reminds me very much of Pepe. Yeah, like, he reminds me so much of Pepe, and just like his design and the way he's like more the way he like walks as well. It's like very it's kind of hard to describe, but yeah, just the way he actually walks and looks, and he has a haircut. If Pepe actually cut his hair, it would look pretty much the same in my regard. I feel like this guy may be related to Pepe in some way, but the one that I'm really interested in is the one in the background with like the two samurai swords. I would love to see, if Lewis is still alive, this guy actually take him on, because we still don't know what happened to Lewis after the end of Goldie Pond. I feel like he is going to come back in some similar way, and it will be interesting to see if this guy actually fought him. But the fact that he has a payback on, that we don't know a lot about him, but we can tell just from their designs, just what they're all about. Like, we've got the sadistic girl, and then we've got the stern, mature one, and then we've got like the bloodthirsty two men in the background. And they just seem to be having a blast going through the space and exterminating all of these demons. So anyway, as we see more awesome sadistic images of the woman, we get. This is the line that was like really like gave that grey area of this world that I'm seeing. It's like she says, "Hey, can I eat them later?" referring to the dead demons. And again, it shows that humanity is not perfect as well, and as Emma and Ray and the others could be led to believe, like, humanity's not in the clear as well. I mean, they have discovered that with Peter Atari, how they're enemies now, and humanity's an enemy as well. But in terms of people like this, like, could potentially be good guys and allies to Emma, they're just as crazy as some of the demons out there. And to the fact that she says, "Can I eat them?" pretty much establishes that moral grey area that's going to be probably coming into play. How especially with Emma, if she ever comes in contact with Emma, like, Emma just doesn't want any more bloodlust happening or bloodthirstiness happening. But to see someone like this, and to see how far they've fallen to the point that they're actually becoming like the demons, that's really interesting, and it just shows more for her personality than some of the others that we've gotten in the past few chapters. So the guy in dungarees says to her, "Who cares? Do what you want. I'll tell you to cut it out, but you would just do it again anyway." So again, it shows that even though they're comrades, it shows just how reckless this girl, this woman actually is, in the fact that she won't listen to the people around her as long as she can actually get justice for humanity. And it's further proven, like, when she says, "Oh, come on, it pisses me off that we're always the meat, you know." And again, she's not wrong. She's not wrong per se in the fact that they just don't want to be meat, but the way she's going about it is really wrong. It's like, it's not the right way to be, and it's not the right way to be acting, and it's going to lead to various conflicts between various parties and factions further down the line. But anyway, moving on, we see the girl going, "Always us, raise this cattle. It pisses the hell out of me." And I feel like this girl, if Emma wasn't as pure as she was, or Gillian didn't hide herself as well as she did in terms of her real emotions, Gillian and Emma could potentially end up like this girl, someone who's fallen into pits of despair just from the amount of hell that they've gone through and how much they've raised this kettle. And it's really great to see adults that have fallen and what could potentially become of the kids if they're actually not careful and they actually do step over that line, that thin line that's just keeping them at bay at this moment. So anyway, the Dungarees man goes, yeah, I get that, I'm pissed as yeah. And I really love how the translators have gone with that as yeah, to show different variations of different accents that are going on at this point. Even though they're in manga format, we can tell like, oh yeah, this guy's got a little bit of an accent on him. And we see the guy with glasses going, I suppose I should say I'm pissed too. Don't you have any more words in your vocabulary? And this is really suggesting like he doesn't want to fall as far as they are. Even though he is pissed, he has a level-headed and can like think logically, and that's really contrast to others, to the other members of the party at the moment. And the Dungarees guy goes, for example, any suggestions, smart guy? The possibilities are endless, surely. You could say that you're enraged, furious, vexed, brimming with righteous anger at the injustice of the era. And the question like, what does that even mean, man? Again, showing that even though they're angry at the system as well, they're being no better than the system. And he's sort of like guiding them to say like, look, can you think of other words to say other than pissed off? And I feel like he wants to say, look, stop doing this, otherwise you're no better than the demons. And if this gets brought up later, it's going to create some interesting conflict between, like I said, between factions, not just with the adults but with the children, in the sense that they may find the children and this girl may be like, oh, you kids are good at guns, right, let's be soldiers and let's exterminate the demons once and for all. And she may actually flip the shit, being more crazy than Hugo was when we first met him. So anyway, moving on, we see the big panel where we see all the artificially created humans that Sonju mentioned way back when he was telling about how the world is actually structured at the moment. And we see William Minerva, and we see him going to say, it means your heart explodes with anger the way things are, and he questions if the security has been destroyed, which they confirmed that it has. And we just see like all these really just like basically vegetated state humans at this point in time. They can't do anything, and if they're removed, basically life support is removed, then they're gonna die. And William Minerva, you can see like the sympathy that he has in the words that he's said for these humans. Even though he's angry at the system, he knows that there's nothing he can do to save these humans that he would probably want to save. And I'm gonna keep referring to William and James in like the same way, because they're one and the same pretty much. Like James and William are one and the same, so I'm gonna keep bouncing back and forth between them. So just like giving you a little heads up about that. But anyway, moving on, we see the human. We see like the actual Dungarees man and the girl just being like disgusted at all of this, and I can agree with them. Like that this is pretty much a fate worse than death as well. They at this point of time, and I wouldn't want to be in that situation as well. I can only imagine just like the stench and just like seeing humans trapped in this state with nowhere to go, and the only way out is death. I feel like that's a really disgusting but also really fascinating for this world, as it shows just how dark and depressing this world is and how much it needs to change for the better of humanity. And we see this glasses guy going, a clean looking building on the outside, but inside it turns out to be the worst possible kind of mass production plantation. And and I think the author is trying to be symbolic of what would be like to go into a meat packing plant. It would be disgusting and horrifying to see like so many animals being in this situation, but he's using it with humans. And I'm not sure if this guy is a vegetarian or not, but if he is, he's doing a pretty good job of showing just how awful humanity can be to not just animals but also their own kind as well. So anyway, find out that the guy with the bag on his head and the two swords, his name is Sassy. I'm pretty sure it's Sassy. It's Sassy with a Z. Let's see. Sassy, yeah, Sassy, that's his name from what we've seen here. And we see him just slice off all the trains of all the factory zombified humans, and they're going, come, we're here to help you. But all the humans can say is, and we see them crying as well, like they're just in so much pain, like they just want this to end as quickly as possible. So yeah, if I was James or in this situation, I feel bad about doing this, but I know it's the right thing to do to get them out of this situation, to stop all this mass production for these demons if they want to make a better world for humanity. And we see just like the girl and the Dungarees guy, particularly the girl, like just snapping out of her bloodlust rage, just being like having sympathy. Just from these panels, you just get a really good sense of just how complex these humans are and how they are actually human. They do feel anger, but they do feel sadness and sympathy for situations that actually do justify it being in that situation, like those emotions coming out. And we see James saying, "You poor thing," and just hugging one of the some vegetative state humans and saying, and we see the glasses guy going, "Will we bring them with us?" And James going, "No," showing that there's nothing they can do for them at this state. And again, this is a fate worse than death. And I feel like even though James is killing humans, he is giving them a satisfactory death, because if they're not killed, then they're just going to be fed to demons anyway. So it's better for them to die with their humanity intact rather than being cattle for demons. And I feel like that's the justification he's getting across here. And I've really got to commend William or James that keep back and forth between the names. I've got to give James Watari credit for actually having the balls to actually go through with this, even though it probably pains him to actually do it. James goes on to say that these children will die as soon as you remove them from the machine. So again, like he said, there's nothing he can do about it. And he actually goes on to say what I've actually stated as saying, frustrating though it is, there's nothing we can do, but at least we can free them from their shackles. And he says, forgive them. He hopes that they will forgive him for what he is about to do. And so he frees them from the shackles, and then he goes to a power switch, which is probably going to electrify all the humans. And he says, "I pray that you are reborn. You live a decent life as freedom, as humans are meant to be." So, and you could just see like the guilt on his face, like even though his face is encompassed in shadows most of the time, and that's what I love about it. Like his face is covered in shadows to solidify, like he's about to do something really dark and really evil if you don't know the context. But his face, but part of his face is sort of like situated with whiteness, with the light, and you see the grit of his teeth. Like he doesn't want to do this, but he knows he has to do it because it's the right thing to do. So anyway, after James and everybody kills the vegetative state humans, they ask what now to James, and he says, "Burn it all, burn this plantation down, no excuses." And so they do just that, and we see the plantation get burnt down. And again, that was really a emotional moment for James. Like I said, he didn't want to do that, but he knew he had to do it for the sake of the whole of humanity. And it probably will be weighing on his shoulders, the fact that he's actually had to kill humans for a better chance of humanity. And I feel like when Emma and him actually do meet, which I feel like is going to happen, Emma and James are actually going to meet, I feel like there will be some conflicting emotions from Emma's perspective about what James has actually done. And because she's all about saving everyone and thinking like there has to be a way, but in this situation there was no way that they could be saved, and that's going to create an interesting dynamic between the two if they do actually meet. And so after burning the plantation down and then walking away, James says, "Destroy all farms, free every single cattle child, bring the Neverland to an end," which goes back to the title of the series, The Promised Neverland. Like the promise part of it is creating a different world for a different and better world for the humans, but the Neverland part is being encompassed with the demon world, and to end that Neverland is to bring the promise of a new world into fruition. So as we see James put his hood back up, we see the symbol on the back of his cloak, which confirms that he was the guy that was sitting on that rock at the end of I think it was chapter 101 or something like that. I thought it would be Songju, but no, it turns out it was James, and we see him go back to sort of like a base of operations, and we see him going, "Children, I will bring you a paradise," and we see like just an array of children, which I'm guessing they're children from the plantation, possibly including Gracefield House, which again, it just begs the question of, we need a flashback to find out exactly how this was actually accomplished. We need like a few flashback chapters to figure out how it's actually accomplished, and what's going to happen next, where these kids are actually going to go. And we see them just saying Minerva, Minerva, actually just making him to be out this Christ figure that's bringing about a new world, like this God figure, which goes back to the tale of like the King of Paradise, like he is the king that is creating this new world. But then we cut back, we'd see like a panel and probably thoughts from James saying, "I'll give the human world back to you. First of all, break out the plantations and head to the following points." So anyway, after that, that's the end of what we see from Winnie Minerva's group at this point. But they were really interesting, and we really got a lot of characterization from them in just this one chapter. We got distinct characterization for all 5 members, and Winnie Minerva had a lot going for him, and it's certainly a lot that Emma's going to have to pick up on and think like, okay, sometimes some people have to be left behind and they have to die if we want everyone else to survive. And that's gonna I feel like that's going to come into play later on. Like, they're going to have a meeting and they're going to really discuss this and sit down and talk about this in a very mature way. And even though Emma's going to probably disagree with it, she's going to, I think, at least understand where James is coming from and what he's actually trying to achieve. It's like, I can't save everyone, but I can at least save the majority of people. So anyway, the coordinates are 735 941 1010 13 11 2 21 8 4 and 150 6 and 3. And we see Golda going, these numbers, and Ray going, it's the same as before, and Emma going, correct, it's the code based on Minerva's fantasy book, which I feel like those coordinates are going to lead to where we saw William in that William on that balcony. I feel like those are the coordinates that all those kids are at, and I feel like Emma's going to find out, like, Phil's there and Norman's there, but even though they may find out about that, I don't feel like at that point the series is going to be over. I feel like we'll have a lot more to do, because we still have to find out exactly where the demons actually came from in the first place, and the whole issue with Grandma and Peter Atari. Like, Control Chaos really brought this up, like, Emma and Peter Atari may actually have to end up fighting, and if they do, I really feel like I really want it to be just as epic as everyone versus Lewis, but particularly Emma versus Lewis. I want that battle of the minds to be going through each other, and I don't feel like they're going to make Peter as stereotypical as Andrew was. I feel like he's going to be on the level of Lewis and Isabella, in terms of that intelligence and that tactical nature that they had. I feel like that's going to apply to Peter as well. But anyway, continuing on, we see them going, it's a code book, and Emma going, page 7, 3rd line, 5th word, go, page 9, 4th line, first word, 2, and then we see the kids going, and then we see some of the little kids going, oh yeah, I remember it now, when we did that, when we first found the shelter, which again shows just how good of a memory that all these kids actually have, and it shows that their intelligence wasn't something to snuff at. Like, no, it's really playing a point in the survival of them as well. Like, intelligence is actually trumping raw physical power in this sense, and getting them to where they need to be. So anyway, putting all the words together, it says, go to the jaw of the lion, and they're like, what's the lion? What's the jaw of the lion? How do we get there? And we see, like, one of the little kids going, I saw that on the maps back in the shelter when we were looking for the temple and the golden warriors. We see Emma's face just, like, brighten up at this point. Like, they actually have a destination. They have location that they actually have to get to, and a goal of reaching that before shit starts hitting the fan. And we see we see like again like where they actually have to go, like how they're actually going to get there. It is in a Westland, 10 days on foot from here to the west. That's the place where this telephone Minerva wants us to go to. And then we see Limey going, great, let's go. And we see Dawn going, yeah, to the Lion's Jaw. And that's great. Like they're all like really ramping up and like really getting into their strive and their groove of actually working together as a team to actually make a better move for humanity. And we see Emma going, Hugo, Lucas, everyone we've lost. And we see like a gravestone for them, which it was a nice touch that they actually put that up there. Like actually gave them a sort of like a resting place for them to actually go. And we see Emma's hand on the floor, but then we see two of her hands going over it, which I assume are like Hugo and Lucas's hand, because they're very transparent at this point. Like you can actually see through them. So I feel like this is Lucas and Hugo's hand that are actually coming forward in the form of a spirit for her. And then we see like just Emma's mind just blank out. We see Hugo and Lucas and everyone that they've lost just standing there and looking over and being proud of her, which shows just how much confidence they actually had in Emma for her to do this mission. As it's been stated time and time again, that Emma's the one that needs to change the world and she needs to do it, and she needs to be the leader that these kids can actually look up to. Emma thinks to herself and says, watch us, we will change the world, you'll see. We're heading out, and this is the end of the chapter where it says the time for the final voyage has come to the place where Minerva awaits, and that's the end of the chapter. So not a very complicated chapter. It was just introducing some new characters, introducing Minerva's resistance and showing that there are allies out there, but they're also walking the line of being good guys and evil, particularly that woman who was just like, can I eat them later? Sort of like in a style, sort of like in a way that Gluttony from Full Metal Alchemist was just like, can I eat them? Can I eat them? Please, can I eat them? And it just shows that she may actually snap at some point and just be like, go like all berserk werewolf crazy. And if that happens, that will be like so awesome, but also so fitting for her type of character. But anyway, guys, yeah, so what did you guys think of this chapter? Let me know, as we'll let you know with chapter 114, which we'll be getting to in about a few seconds. So we'll be getting into that right now. Alright, so this will be chapter 114, titled One Thing at a Time. What? You really just want to do, you really want to just me do one thing at a time? Well, okay, I'm doing the review and then I'm going to do the editing. Nah, I know what it probably means. It's probably a reference to the fact that they need to take steps and they can't be and they can't be doing multiple things at once, taking their time, actually getting to the place and then figuring out, okay, what do we do next? Taking it steady and being patient is what's ultimately going to lead them to having a success in this mission to make a better world for humanity. But anyway, moving on, we see William. We see a flashback of William Minerva and his group going, "I'm William Minerva. Head to the following points," and we see go to the Jaw of Lions, and then we see them. We see all the kids like still in the forest area, looking and discussing the map and where they're actually having to go to get out of the forest. And it says journey to the last hope, and we see Emma going, so we follow this path we used to go to Kuta Vela, that thing I can never pronounce, I'll never be able to pronounce it, the sea place, I'll just call it the sea place. We'll go into the sea place, then around this part we leave it and go rest. And Ray says, I believe it will take around 10 days, and everybody agrees on that. And we get a recap of Emma reinstating that to Lucas and Hugo and everyone that they will actually succeed in this mission and they're heading out. And we see the title page of Emma's hand reaches for the future. Obviously she wants to reach for a future where humans can actually live without being cattle, and we see just that little glimmer of hope that she has, which is always going to have to lead on to, because if anybody dies, then that little glimmer of hope is going to fade out and she's going to snap. Emma's gonna snap. And I did bring this up when I commented on the video with Control Chaos, how they thought that it was like really wasted potential of Emma actually shooting, but I feel like it has to be Dawn, Gilda or Ray or someone like that has to die for Emma to actually have that snap, that she's actually gonna disregard everything that she's learned and just go bloodthirsty rage, which would make sense for her character, because she's always been treading that thin line of being good and evil herself, as we've seen in various panels, like when she's had a sadistic side to her. Alright, so we cut to 3 days after they've set off, so they're in the 3rd day of travel, and we see everybody just looking absolutely exhausted, and Dawn is actually quick to pick up on this and say everybody's looking tired, and Gilda goes, our pace is worse than I thought, but it makes sense. We're not travelling in a group of 6 anymore, but 55. And again, this is something that Control Chaos have actually brought up a lot as well. And I can agree on, like, the group is too large. They need to be separated at certain points, because something like this was going to happen. Like, they were just going to slow down, and and the characters weren't actually going to ignore this. They were actually going to discover it themselves, and they have, like, the amount of large group has just actually made them that much slower. But again, Emma isn't going to be someone to say, we're just going to leave you behind. She is not that kind of character. But again, it's kind of a double-edged sword. Like, she wants everybody to survive, but there's going to be problems along the way. Like, some of the kids are just not as physically fit or athletic as some of the others. Like, some of the like, Emma's the most physically active out of all of them. Like, she's got the best stamina out of all of them, I feel like, in the series. I mean, we don't exactly know Oliver or Gillian's stamina, but Emma's right up there as being one of the more athletic ones. So even though her stamina is really good, she has to learn, like, okay, my family is not as athletic as I am, but I've made this choice and I've got to stick with it. But it's still really interesting that I'm actually addressing these problems, which I think the author kind of had to address at this point, that there was a group of 55 and it's different from a group of 6 or a group of even 17, like when the Gracefield kids left. It's a much larger group, but it's also causing a lot of problems along the way, and we see them going, such a large group means we've lost agility, and many children are still young. Even this rhythm must be hard for them, which again it is really hard for them, particularly for Mark and I think it's Alicia. I'm pretty sure it is Alicia. Like, they're not as physically fit, but they're really just trying and going along, and you can tell that they just have that much determination, that they are just like, even though they know their limits, they're still trying to push past it and move on despite the opposition that is thrown their way. Ray continues on to say, gathering food, finding safe place to sleep, it's all so much more complicated or complex. With only 6, it was a different story altogether, and above all else, this stress is affecting us. Not only will we have to worry about demons, but about human enemies. We must stay alert for both, and you can just see, like, just how much frustration is actually killing him here. Like, he's not the same person as he was at the beginning of the series, but he still has that level of, like, he wishes he could just go back to that point where it's like, it's simple to just leave some people behind, so that the other more athletic people can be there, make a better world for humanity and for the greater good. But he knows that Emma won't let him do that now, and it's just like, I feel like it's really stressing him at this point. And I can't blame him, because if I was in that large of a group and I had demons and humans to worry about killing me, I'd be probably losing my mind. And for Ray to actually keep his cool for a 14-year-old, yeah, I think he's 14, he's either 14 or 15, he's one of the older ones of the group, for someone like that at that age to be to just even keep his cool, even though he knows it's affected him, is really commendable for his character as well. And we can see that Emma is noticing this as well, noticing how everybody's getting tired and how stressful it is, this journey that they're going on, as we can see from Emma's, like, determined look as she turns around and looks back at the group. So we see them going on to say, and to top it all off, as we see Dawn and Slack just scour around and looking absolutely terrified, and not really often that you get to see Ray displaying genuine fear, where we see them remembering what happened with the camera in the owl and how they have to be aware of that as well, which just adds even more stress to them as well, because we knew this journey was going to be difficult, but just laying it all out exactly what is entitled here, like the large amount of group, the large amount of enemies, and the other obstacles that they have to overcome. It's like really, these kids are just amazing for like actually keeping their cool and not actually freaking out and going insane and ballistic at this point. And we see them going, but can't afford to rest, protect them, hurry, and they just have that determination like we need to get out as quickly as possible in order to get to that safety and protect our family. And Emma goes on to say so that we don't lose any more family. And again, this is something why I feel like there's not been that much characterization, because there's not been any time, because they're always going to be in constant danger and they always have to be on their toes, so there's not many enough time to actually sit down and have those quieter moments like they could have in Gracefield House, where they were safe, quote unquote. Like they could actually sit down for at least a month and talk about things and plan out stuff. But here it's like, no, we need to be constantly on the move because we've got demons, we've got humans, and we've got cameras that could potentially strike us at any moment. So we have to be really careful on our toes and not taking any breaks at all. As the kids notice that food supply is short, and Violet goes, the season itself is harder too. Emma goes, well, why don't you all stay here and we'll go and find some food? And we have some of the younger Gracefield kids going to Emma like, please let us help you find food. And it's like Jemima, Mark, Alicia and Dom going up to Emma and saying, please let us find food with you. And Emma agrees to go along with them, as we see Don and Emma going up to some mushrooms and thinking like, I wonder if this one's edible. I can't tell with this one. But then as Emma is going after them, we see Dom and Mark going, this one's poisonous, Don, but you can eat it if you take out the poison with this herb. And again, this shocks Emma, like, wow, these kids actually thought about this, and where did they learn this? And then we see them going, you can't keep looking in one spot only. Yeah, this way it's much easier to spot them. And we just get this like really funny reaction from Don and Emma to each other, like, what? These kids are actually contributing and actually being helpful. And again, this is something that really goes back to what the guest on the Control Chaos video was saying. Like, when the characters are in the background are actually pointing to the forefront, it's really good, and we get a lot of insight into them. And this is no exception. Like, they're actually able to be successful in actually figuring out which fruit is poisonous, what you can actually do to get rid of the poison. And it's just amazing that we're having the same reaction as Emma and Donna having, and we see Gilda going over to the young black girl. No, it's not Alicia. Sorry, that was my bad. It's Yafeti. I can't pronounce that name. Yafet or something like that. It begins with a Y. You guys can look it up on the panels themselves. But anyway, Gilda questions her what she's looking at for, and she goes, footprints, and her and Mark go, they're this way, and they go off, and Emma's like, what? Because she actually doesn't know what is actually going on here, what they're actually referring to, and what's going through their heads, and if they're actually going to actually find food. And Don goes, Don is like actually trying to get them to like, what's going on, and Mark's going, hurry, the sound may be monkeys. And Don's like, wait, monkeys? And they're like, no, not like that. So we see that they're going, but animals know where to find food. If there are monkeys, humans can eat almost anything they do. And Hugo actually told him that, and it's like we see the shocked look on Gilda and Emma's face of just how much these kids have actually picked up, for kids that are actually Emma's age when she first discovered the gate, for them to actually pick up so much in these 2 years, and to actually be creative in actually finding out food for the group and actually contributing shows just how much they've actually matured and grown and developed themselves in a short space of time. And again, it goes back to the video that was said, like, they've actually been brought to the forefront, and we've actually found out more about them. So it's really good that we're actually finding out more about them. It's really great, and their development is going slower because they have room to grow. They have room to mature because they have now that they've escaped Gracefield, and they're no longer in danger. They're still in danger. They're still in danger of dying, but they're no longer in danger of dying at a certain point. It allows them to slow down in their development and gradually let it come to us as it comes. Like compare Dawn and Gilda to where they were from the beginning of the series to now. They've really matured and they've really grown into themselves and can really be the supports that Emma and Ray actually need. Like Don and Gilda are sort of like reining Emma and Ray in and keeping them from like going across the line, because I feel like without them in the series, once they escaped Gracefield House, they probably would have gone insane themselves in the same way that Hugo went insane. So I feel like Don and Gilda are that anchor that keeps them reining in and thinking like, no, there are still people that can help you here, and the kids here are no exception. Like the kids are growing at a rapid rate, and Emma's starting to realise that herself. So anyway, they do find the monkeys, and the monkeys throw food to them, and Mark says, "Thank you, monkeys," as they line up a whole basket of food for the group, and Don and Emma once again like, wow. And it's like, I would probably be in the same situation as them right now, just thinking like, wow, they actually did it. They actually did something that we could not actually do, and it's sort of amazing that Emma's actually picking up on this. Like I've just said, like she's actually noticing the growth of the kids and that have been in the background, and it's the same for us. We're actually noticing the growth that they've developed over the two years, and it's going to become even more apparent once we get into a flashback with Hugo coming up, and Dom, like Dominic, and Dominic goes on to say that just add some fish and all the nutrients should be there. And Jemima, if you don't remember Jemima was the little girl who, again, compared Jemima to when we first like focused on her to where she is now. This is like the development I feel like the author is slowly giving to us, and again it's the development that the guests actually noticed, and this is a perfect example of this. Like also, side note, I really like Jemima's hair, how it's like just like in sort of like beady places. I really beady like dreadlocks. I really like that. But yeah, compare her to when she was first on that platform when they were about to escape Gracefield House, and she was like really timid, really scared, and she's like shaking and don't know what to do, and Ray had to actually carry her along the zip wire that they actually made. Compare her to now when she's like really happy and really cheery and smiling that she's actually around family, and actually having the confidence to actually go out, even though knowing the danger that she could potentially be in, to actually have that confidence to go out and actually find food for the group. She actually says, I guess we're more skilled at finding supplies for the whole group. We've learned a lot of things in these 2 years, you know, and I can actually believe that as well. You compare Jemima, the timid little girl that was that we met at the end of the Escape from Gracefield House arc, to where she is now, just being confident, going out, and even though knowing the risks, so willing to help in whatever way she can actually do. Really shows the level of development that these kids are actually going through when they're actually put into the spotlight. And I feel like the author's going to focus on various kids that have been in the background but can actually come out into their own in these upcoming chapters. And Emma is so surprised by this, as we see the flashback of Hugo and Lucas actually teaching the kids what to do, and sort of like I said, Hugo and Lucas were sort of like the father figures that the kids never had, and this actually proves that like they learned a lot from them, from scavenging to creating fire, and to actually hunting as well. Like they can actually hunt now. That we see a flashback of Hugo and Lucas just teach them how to use the guns, and actually being like, okay, if we die, at least you have the tools to survive, and you can actually shoot down these demons in the same way that Hugo taught Emma and Ray when he was first introduced. As Emma continues to look absolutely shocked, the kids goes, we can handle this trip no problem. We all learned from Hugo and Lucas. And I feel like the kids actually noticed that Emma probably noticed like how many of the kids are actually like not as fit, and they're actually tired and exhausted, and they were actually like, look, we're not just background kids, we are actually part of this. We're family too, so we want to help out just as much as you've helped us out, Emma. And this is really important message, how you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. Like even though they're not as developed as Emma, like they still have room to grow. The fact that they've grown so much over these past 2 years really helps bring them into the forefront. And they're kids from Gracefield House, the kids that Emma wanted to protect, the kids that Ray thought would just hold them back. The fact that they they're actually helping and contributing to their journey just shows just how much they've Emma and Ray have kind of underestimated them and kind of just been like, oh, they're in the background, yeah, let the big kids. So it's like, no, we are big kids, we need to help you out as well. And they go on to say, so Emma, we can work hard too, so you folks can rest a bit if you're tired. Again, showing like just how much braver those kids have actually become, particularly Jemima, how I feel like if a demon actually attacked, they could just whip out a gun and just shoot it now, and Emma can actually rest and actually gain her strength to actually be the leader that she actually needs to be. And Emma goes on to say, right, I was being silly. Of course, while we traveled for a year, these children were going too. And again, she didn't realise this until now, until they actually proved it, and they're actually be like, no, we can help you out. As Emma thinks back on what her mind in the form of Hugo said to her, saying, you can all change the world, Emma realises and says, I see, that's what you meant, you're right, Hugo. And we see the family just getting together and just having the meal and saying, if we all work together, we can do it, no matter how hard the journey is. And we see them thanking for the meal. And this is really an important moment for Emma, in the sense that she felt like she was the only one that could actually change the world. But no, it's not just her. It's her family, because Emma could not do all of this alone. Particularly, like I said, in the fight with Lewis, Emma could not defeat Lewis alone. She needed all the help she could get, and it took everything to bring Lewis down. All the tricks and strategies and guns that they had, it took everything to bring him down. And it's the combined efforts of every one of this family that has been through so much hell, that has really stuck together. But I feel like if one of them snaps and just absolutely goes berserk, I feel like that's going to bring that whole family unit down, and it will be up to Emma and Ray to actually bring it back together and remind them, like, yes, something bad did happen, but we have to remind ourselves that we are still family and we need to fight to survive. So anyway, we cut a few days later to the 8th day of travel, where Ray goes, doesn't look like we'll make it in 10 days after all. And Emma goes, yeah, but everyone's alive and well, even though she's still worried about the state of Chris and Dominic. Oh, okay, so that boy with the white hair wasn't Dominic. There's just so many characters to keep track of. It wasn't Tomo or Limey. I'll probably find out later on who it actually is, but I know it's one of the Gracefield kids. But still, it's not Dominic, and I apologise. But still, even though it wasn't Dominic, he still showed that kid still showed initiative and showed just how much they've actually grown and matured in the same way that the others have as well. But anyway, continuing on, Emma goes on to say, we've come so far without having to face any demons. We're doing fine in keeping away from them and hiding from the Matari clan. And again, it's just showing just how much more of strategy that they're actually thinking, and how much they're fading the Matari clan by using the forest and not just going out into the wilderness. Even though it's probably slowing them down, it's still the safe route to take, rather than just going out into the wilderness and being an open target. Ray goes on to say, at this rate, we'll just be 1 or 2 days late before we arrive successfully. And this is where Emma like really shows just her emotions of going, Ray, to tell you the truth, I've been worried sick. Just like you, right? And yeah, Emma has picked up on this, like showing like Ray has just been so stressful about this journey and just thinking about all the consequences that could happen. It's made him worry sick just as much as made Emma worry sick, because she doesn't want to lose any more family. And they go on to say, I was feeling terrible. We lost the shelter, then the supporters, even Hugo and the others, and I was starting to lose up. And then there's Phil. Got Phil to tell me, and we see the flashback of Andrew when saying, got Phil to tell me about you. And Emma goes on to say, is he safe? Can he afford to wait 2 more months? Shouldn't we go and help them right now? Even if I tried, what chance do I have? And we see the flashback from earlier in the chapter of Ray going, the more I thought about it, the more anxious I got. And then Emma's going, but the children taught me something. In times like this, more than ever, we have to deal with one thing at a time. And that's a reference to the title of the chapter, like, okay, they need to do this first, they need to get to the safety of the shelter before they actually have a chance to go and rescue anyone. Not the shelter, the quarters that William Minerva sent out to them, and they need to do it. They need to be patient and wait, because rushing everything and it will just fall apart. It's sort of like how in Avatar: The Last Airbender, when when Aang wanted to rush his training, but no, he had to be patient, he had to wait, and he had to do things the right way. It's the same thing here, how they have to do things the right way. They have to go to these quarters and then figure out what the next move is going to be. As Emma continues on to say, no matter how worried you get, it doesn't do any good to anyone, and that is an important message to take away, not just for Emma's character, but for anyone in the world. Like, worrying doesn't get you anywhere, and you have to think about things calmly and logically. And she goes on to say, focus on what you can do right now, on what you have to, and these small steps will take you to the end. So again, very, very important message to take away that Emma is saying here. Like, you have to take things in small steps to get to the larger finishing goal, because rushing everything just doesn't get you anywhere, just leads to more panic and more stress. But then we see some footprints, and Ray goes, Emma, and he points to the footprints, and Emma sees it as well, and they call back to the group saying, everybody stay here, we'll be back. And they call Don now, and Don comes before them, showing, like, again, like, they're putting trust in Don, like, as opposed to, like, just keeping him in the background. Like, they need him for this moment in time. And we see a thought going, this feeling, it's demons, there are demons around. So again, like, they've just had that instinct, like, okay, the enemy's around, we've got to be the ones on camp, we've got to be the big ones, we have to keep some people back, but also with others that can actually fight if something actually comes up. But we actually have to be the ones to actually take care of this. And we see them, and we see Dawn, Ray and Emma running, and we see just like demons around these two people, and Ray going, her people, and that's where the chapter ends. So not so again, a very small chapter in the grand scheme of things, but very important in terms of character development, not just for Emma's character, but for also some of the other kid characters that we've not really focused on, but now that they've been brought into the forefront and actually shown that they're just as capable, just as Emma and Ray, and can actually do things just as well as them. It shows just how much the author is really bringing more of the kids now into the spotlight, and showing, like, no, they are worthy of standing alongside Emma and Ray. Even though it's in small doses, we can still see them. We can still see that development actually happening. And to actually bring Don along with them shows again just how much trust they actually have in Don at this point, Emma and Ray. And it really took the kids actually coming up to Emma and saying, like, look, we want to help as well, to be like, to remind Emma, like, it's not just her, it's her family, and she doesn't have to worry about this on her own. But anyway, going into the end of the chapter, these two characters are just at the end. I feel like Emma, Ray and Don can kill those demons, no problem. They've done it before. I feel like they can kill them again. And I feel like one of the people is going to get badly injured, and they're going to have to make a detour in order to help him. And I feel like they will actually join the group, or I feel like they're probably more bloodthirsty than ever. If they're actually bloodthirsty people that after the demons are dead and they're just actually stabbing at the demons, then that's going to create an interesting dynamic, and it'll probably contrast with what Emma wants to do. And if they do join the group, I feel like they're going to be a bad influence on the actual kids. But anyway, guys, what did you think of these two chapters? Oh, it was a lot to get through, guys. It was a lot to get through. I'm just saying that right now. I feel like they're going to be around the same length, these two reviews, because they weren't majorly complex reviews, which I am glad they weren't, because we could have been here for like 2 hours at more. I mean, I could have talked about these two chapters for an hour piece, but I feel like I need to just take not throw all I feel like I need to leave things for you guys to actually go away and read for yourselves. But anyway, guys, I did enjoy talking about these two chapters, and let's hope that whatever we have coming next, when the next chapter is released, when chapter 115 comes out, I feel like I'm hoping that we get a lot more of these two characters, and seeing, like, if they are actually pure, or if they're actually more on the evil end of the spectrum, what line they actually draw. But anyway, guys, what did you think? Like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz, and this will be Lasher Luke signing off. Later, guys.